All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast. This is Moose with Matthews and Mays on the second podcast of the week. We did our first one live from the Fox Sports The Gambler Swing It and Ding It Open on Monday. We'll get into that later in the show, but we have bigger fish to fry, as they say here, in the business. If you are following any of the Live PGA Tour drama, there's one guy, in my opinion, on Twitter who stands out far and above the rest, and that is John Nucci. Make sure you're following at JNucci23. I feel like when something breaks, you could mute like 50 people and just follow John and get all the information. So, John, thank you for providing clarity in a very unclear situation, and welcome to Swing It and Ding It.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And also Penn State Law graduate. Is that correct? Okay. How about undergrad?
All right, nice. Yeah, undergrad I went to SUNY Oswego, actually up near Syracuse. So.
Okay. You got three Temple. You got three Temple grads. You got three Temple grads on the line. So.
A little bit of a smaller school there, yeah.
Yeah, and of course he works with the great Dan Lust on the Conduct Detrimental podcast, and you can follow them too at Con Detrimental on Twitter.
Yeah. So, John, talk about the whirlwind that this has been. And, the main question I have for you, right? If this was a drama, right? If this was a novel, the Live PGA Tour, what chapter do you think we're in, right? If this was a 20 chapter book, what chapter do you think we're in and where this is going?
So I never would have predicted the partnership that actually happened on that was announced at least on June 6th. So it's hard for me to say that. I mean, I was being introduced to talk about the litigation that day to like 40 lawyers from around the world, and my phone started exploding, and I was like, just so you all know, this doesn't mean anything anymore. So hard for me to predict that. If I had to put a guess on it, I'd say we're probably around the 15th chapter out of 20. I am pretty confident that this deal is probably going to go through. So I think we have about 6 months or so to kind of finalize the details and then really sell it to golf fans and to sell it to the golf world at that point. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that the deal is actually going to go through. I know I might be a little bit in the minority there, but I would say we're probably about 3/4 of the way through this saga.
Wow, and you're pretty confident that this is going to get done because right now they're saying they just have an agreement to have an agreement is really what I learned from those Senate hearings last week. But let's say this does get done and you're correct. Who in your mind then would be really running golf? Would it be the PGA Tour? Like they're saying, oh no, we're going to be running all this stuff. But when you have an investment this size, isn't it hard to? It's not that hard to believe to say that the PIF would really be running the sport.
So I do think the PGA Tour would be running it, and I think there's and Blumenthal kind of expressed that too, where he said if someone's putting up all the money, then they have all the control. But I think what a lot of people are overlooking here is the PGA Tour is contributing all of their commercial assets to this new entity. So they might not be contributing cash, $2 billion up front, but the value of what they are contributing, it's all of their media rights, all of their assets, all of their tournament infrastructure. That is in the process, I believe, of they're going through a valuation process. So that could be in the $20 billion range. So I would expect PIF and this agreement to kind of shake out similar to how we've seen with something like the NBA, where they just allowed sovereign wealth funds to start investing to a cap of 20%. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that, where it's an 80-20, 75-25 situation, because as I said, the value of what the PGA Tour is contributing, even though it's not cash, is maybe a 5, 6, 7 times multiple of the public investment fund's cash. So,
Danielle.
Thank you. I had it muted. You mentioned after everything is done and finished, then it have to be a sell to the fans, to the players, to everything. What do you think is the hardest part of that?
I think the hardest part is going to be having to walk back a lot of the rhetoric that has been thrown around for the last year. They've been telling the players and all of the fans, for a long time, trying to take the moral card as far as LIV is concerned. And now all of a sudden overnight, they're good for the game and they're good for, and you should embrace it. So I think that's going to be their biggest hurdle, is having to sell this to the people that they spent the last year telling that that LIV is not good for golf and the public investment fund is not good for golf. And now all of a sudden they are kind of doing a 180, and that's going to have to be sold not only to the PGA Tour members that stayed, but also to maybe certain fans who believed that message and bought into it. So.
And then staying on that same topic, what do you think of Jay's future?
It's a good question. My first reaction when this all came out and the initial player reaction, I said there's no way that he survives, long term. I didn't think that there was any way. I guess I've shifted a little bit because I think the players' stances have softened a little bit. You saw Rory come out in some press conferences in support of him. Seen other players indicate support for the deal. I think it was maybe a little bit of a shock at the beginning, and it was a little bit of an emotional reaction. And now that things have softened, maybe players are starting to see that this was the best path forward to end all of the litigation and also retain control of golf. I know that's what those on the PGA Tour side think. So I don't know. If you asked me 6 weeks ago, I would have said he has no chance. But the players' stances have seemed to soften a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they've gotten a little more information, or they've started to process it a little more. So I think if that's the case and this deal does go through, I think maybe he does survive long term.
Danielle has 2 PGA Tour players sleeping like 25 feet from her. Maybe we can go wake them up and just, see what they think about you.
See if they can get their vote.
Yeah. So how about we just saw this morning that Yasser will be attending the Open. He will be in attendance for the Open. John, do you think this is the last major where we'll have an issue with guys that could qualify, who's in, who's not?
Well, that's a little kind of very dependent on what the Department of Justice does. I mean, they could delay this thing for a long time, and it might just be business as usual for both sides. So I guess it would totally depend on that. I think there's always going to be a little bit of that dynamic, especially because we don't know what golf is going to look like. We don't know if LIV is even going to be around anymore. We don't know if it's just going to be wrapped up into a fall schedule. So we don't really know any of that yet. But I would say, yeah, it's a tough question. I guess I would say that this is probably the last one because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm in the minority, but I do think this deal is going to go through, and I think it's ultimately going to pass, and I think we'll ultimately have a unified sport. So I think at Augusta things might be kind of a return to normal there.
Well, John, what about the loyalty reparations issue? I saw John Rahm kind of squash that yesterday in his press conference, saying that he stayed because he wasn't pressured to stay. That's where he wanted to be, and he doesn't feel like he needs any extra money. But if they're willing to give him some, he'll take it. But it's not going to be a requirement, at least from him.
Yeah, and interestingly, he said that the same day he signed the Callaway extension and got equity in Topgolf Callaway. So
that helps.
I don't need all that money, but maybe for some other people that turned down boatloads of money, and someone like Will Zalatoris, for instance, I think he turned down 130 million and then something like that, and immediately hurt his back. So someone like that might have a little bit of a different take on this than John Rahm, but. I think that they'll find a way ultimately to do that. I think it's probably going to be through something like the Player Impact Program, where they just say that LIV players are not eligible, which might sound like not a big deal, but I think it's $100 million now, and if they're banned from it for 10 years, I mean that's $1 billion that LIV players are not eligible to receive. So I don't see it as any type of equity program that was being floated around a little bit. I would hope that. It's not out of the question, I guess, but I think it's going to be more so maybe ineligible for the purses at elevated events for a couple of years, or maybe ineligible for the PIP program for a while.
They're going to have to make some type of changes on the PIP because it's just going to be the same guys. Like, I mean, Tiger's won it, hasn't he? Like the past
he doesn't even play.
Years. And then it's like Rory and JT and, probably Max Homa are the big mostly Twitter, social media guys.
Yeah, and that was, at least it seemed like that was kind of the whole intent of it, was to just give it an extra little payout to the top, the biggest stars in the game to try to ensure that they didn't make the jump to live. So I think that was the whole purpose of it. So it's, I guess in that respect, it's probably serving its purpose. But yeah, it is limited to kind of the top end guys, especially some of them that aren't even playing anymore. So I guess they probably should rework that eligibility criteria. That would be good.
Now, we all watch the Senate hearings. I'm sure that you kind of see that through a different lens than us. So I'd love to get your perspective of, what your takeaways from that. Were there any things that, maybe the general public didn't really catch on to, but there were some undertones like, okay, this could be an issue, and anything that really jumped out at you from those hearings?
So more so than the hearings was that the memo that they released, that 100-something page memo that they released, showing the back and forth and the red lines on the framework agreement. That tells more to me than anything that happened at the hearing, because that is, each business side and their lawyers going back and forth about what the primary issues are. And you're able to see what they kind of kicked down the road. They said, here's our position, and then in the middle they said, to be mutually agreed upon, or something like that, which means those are the issues that they're going to have to talk about. A main one was the extent to which that PIF would have any type of veto rights or consent rights on major decisions. I would be shocked if that ends up being part of the actual deal. It wouldn't make much sense for the PGA Tour to enter into agreement that says we have all the control, but the other side can veto us at any moment every time we try to make a big decision. So that was a big one. I also think they showed a little bit of a fundamental, someone like Blumenthal, a misunderstanding of how the entity is going to work, because he kept saying, PIF is contributing all the money. But as I mentioned earlier, the PGA Tour is contributing almost its whole business to this. So that's obviously has a huge value that Blumenthal didn't really pick up on. I also, as a golf fan, it was a little frustrating to keep hearing them say PGA instead of PGA Tour, but that was a little side issue. But I think the veto and consent rights is a big one. I think that is going to be really interesting. And then the other one that they kicked the can down the road a lot was the future of LIV and what LIV is going to look like. I've sort of maintained throughout that I think LIV was just I don't know that this was the whole plan all along necessarily, but I do think that Public Investment Fund just wanted to have a seat at the table in the game of golf.
The old Trojan horse, huh?
Yeah, and I don't think they are married to the idea of LIV. I think the team concept might stay in some capacity, but I don't see LIV staying beyond this framework, beyond the final agreement.
You referred to it earlier as a partnership. I heard words like merger and words like investment. From a legal perspective, what does it matter, and what do you think this ends up being?
Well, it certainly matters in the sense that they are trying to avoid any type of serious DOJ scrutiny, because I won't get too into the weeds on antitrust law, but they'll that is kind of the hallmark, is the two entities that are merging to kind of dominate a market. So in this other sense, they are creating a new entity that is essentially just taking an investment from the Public Investment Fund. So I think there was some probably talking that somebody had some talking to from some of the lawyers on the other side, because they kind of quickly stopped using the word merger. They quickly backtracked on it. But the initial press release said merger. CNBC ticker, when they went on there, said merger. So it's going to be a little harder to walk those back now, but it does make a difference in the sense that they might avoid a little bit of DOJ scrutiny if it's not a true merger.
And wasn't there some sort of disparagement type of clause? I don't know if that's the right word, but where they wanted the players and people on the tour to not be able to say bad things about the Saudi government. Yeah,
and I believe that was just basically during the term of this framework agreement. So from the time the framework agreement is signed until the time the final agreement is signed, they didn't want any disparagement, which is actually fairly common when two entities are in discussions to one is buying the other or merging or whatever you want to call it, because it's hard to sit there and negotiate a business deal if one side is just bashing the other side nonstop. So those are fairly common, although I think some of the senators did say that it was a little more broad than they had seen, but it's not surprising given that the player contracts, at least some of them on LIV, also had non-disparagement clauses for the public investment fund for the government of Saudi Arabia. So that's not shocking. What would be shocking to me is if that made it into any final agreement where they said that the players, in this new PGA Tour Enterprises or whatever it's going to be called, can't disparage the public investment fund. I would be very surprised to see that go through. And I think that's what Ron Price was saying. They don't have any intention of that. So that non-disparagement clause might just be, I assume it's going to be just basically from the framework agreement until the final agreement.
Gotcha. John, talk about conduct detrimental. Talk about what you guys are doing over there, some of the other characters that are involved, and how that's been going for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So conduct detrimental is Dan Lust and Dan Wallach. It is basically the intersection of sports and law. So there are no shortage of sports law issues in the news all the time. It's whether it's NFL or Roger Goodell, the Dan Snyder saga. So we are primarily lawyers, law students that just kind of write about the legal issues related to sports. I just found a little bit of a niche in golf because I just love the game, and as soon as this PGA Tour LIV litigation hit, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to write about what my passion is. So they've been going at it for a while. They release podcasts every week, talk about all things related to NIL and all things related to what's new in the sports law world. So it's conduct detrimental. You can Apple Podcast, Spotify, and anywhere else that you listen.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Well, let's get you out with this last thing. Who's your pick for the Open?
I've been wavering off. I'll give you. You want like a gross long shot pick, or do you want
We'll take anything. We'll take it all.
All right. So I tend to. This is a little bit of a cop out. I think Scottie Scheffler's probably winning the tournament. I'm not going to bet him at 7-1.
Right.
But I do think he's probably going to win the tournament. Beyond him, I actually like Matt Fitzpatrick's odds this week. I know he doesn't typically play great in Open Championships, I don't believe, but he seems to set up well for this course, given his off the tee accuracy. And then Ewan Ferguson, a very long shot. I'm not going to bet him to win because he's like 350-1. But I am definitely sprinkling like a top 10, top 20 on him. He's a Scottish player who is pretty solid. And then another one is Ryan Fox. I think he's got like 11 straight top 30s or something, and he's like plus 300 to top 30. So
yeah,
as you can see, I bet a little bit too much golf. But,
so
those would be my picks.
It doesn't sound like Matt Fitzpatrick likes the new 17th hole, though.
No, and many of them will, especially if they got to play like a gap wedge or something into it.
Well, John, listen, we really appreciate some time. I have a feeling we're probably going to have you back on at some point as the saga continues, but really enjoy following and reading and watching what you do. It's provided some clarity in a very unclear situation.
Murky situation.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
You
John.
got it. Thanks, John. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. Awesome to talk to John Nucci. I mean, just a great follow. Even if you go to his Twitter right now, his pinned tweet that he has up there has more information than most other accounts that just regurgitate the same stuff over and over again. So really cool to talk to John. Thanks, Harry, for setting that up.
Yeah, at JNucci23.
Yep, sports law attorney and chief golf correspondent at Conduct Detrimental, which is, all those guys, Dan Lust and they're on it, man. They do not miss a topic for sure. But we touched on it a little bit. The name Rory came up a few times, and Rory wins the Genesis Scottish Open over Robert McIntyre. Harry, I know you were rooting for Robert McIntyre. We talked about Scheffler with a T3. His last finish of worse than T12 was in October. Just so you guys know.
October at the CJ Cup.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. It's unbelievable the stretch that he is on. And I know he hasn't won a major yet this year, but he did win the Players. And if he wins this week, that's Player of the Year. If you ask me, you get a major and all that consistency and the Players lock it in, because it's kind of a big battle between him and John Rahm, who was hot early, has a major. And if he wins this week, that probably locks it down. And then if you sneak in Wyndham Clark, if he somehow pulls this out, he would be a guy that you'd seriously have to look at for Player of the Year. But yeah, you said I was rooting for McIntyre. I wasn't rooting against Rory McIlroy. I was rooting for Robert McIntyre, because it would have been such a great story for that young man to win his National Open. And with the Sunday charge that he put on there with that shot on 18, where he was in the fescue, it was just a brilliant golf shot. He ends up making birdie there after he bogeyed the 16, the par 5, where you're thinking, oh my, like, has it all slipped away? And then Rory comes up and doesn't make birdie there. He pars it, misses that shortish putt. And he said, I believe himself, he thought that was the tournament. Like, he had to make that birdie. He hits an ace tee shot into 17. Everybody was missing long left. He puts it on the green, very close, makes the putt. And now you're like, wow, if he just pars in, he's in a playoff. If he makes birdie, he wins the tournament. And he pulls out a 2-iron into like this gale force wind in his face from over 200 yards. I think he put the 4-iron back, because he took the 3-iron out of his bag and went for the 2-iron and had to hit a fade because he had to keep it, from going too long. And it was a Tiger shot. That shot was a Tiger Woods shot that we used to grow, comfortable watching every week. It was pure brilliance. And
you're going to have a 4-iron draw, and he puts it back and hits a 2-iron cut within what was it, 10 feet, or what was the final number?
I think it was around 10 feet. Yeah,
incredible,
unbelievable,
incredible shot.
Well, I mean, it was such great drama. But the thing is, it wasn't on live television.
Again.
Seriously.
It's unbelievable. And how about Tom Kim, Harry, who I know you liked? He went from solo third to T6 on 18.
Yeah.
On the green of 18, basically. Just unbelievable. And some of the other guys that are, when you look who are rounding into form, especially coming into a major, you have Fleetwood and Hatton, who are very popular, who both T6. So curious to see what happens with the rest of that. And do you think that, not that it's like bad to win at any time, but like Rory winning the week before the major, is it like, well, he won last week, right?
Yeah.
Is that, what do you think about that?
Well, I think he's playing great golf, so I look at it as a positive. I really do, and it just sets up NBC, puts them on a tee for their boy to be coming in off of a win. I mean, it wasn't like last year for the 150 at the old course where they wanted him to take it down. He had won a month earlier in Canada. Now he's hot off a 1 week. He comes in, flame with the cashmere. There was a hideous cashmere shirts that Nike makes for him. I mean, it's just going to be just pure Rory. From Dan Hicks, he's going to have to wear a bib on the weekend talking about Rory if he is in the mix. It's going to be unbelievable.
Danielle, where do we go with this now?
Am I wrong?
I think we need Harry in the booth.
I'd love to be. I would kick Dan Hicks out, bring in Mike Tirico, and he and I'll handle it. And Brad Faxon, of course, we'll have him on the 17th hole.
Yeah, Brad's going to be
been brilliant.
So
I thought we were going to get some playoff golf. We got some playoff golf at the Barbasol, but I thought we were going to get it in Scotland, but it wasn't to be had. And it was, you always love seeing the shot. It's like, all right, when's McIntyre going to go back out? He's in the clubhouse. Is he going to go back? That gets dissected. Everything gets dissected when, but winning it, we talked about there's layers to winning, right? And sinking the putt to win is just such a better win. A win is a win, but when you get the win when you're in the clubhouse or on the practice green, it's just a different feeling altogether, right? Yeah. It's like, you could see the emotion in Rory. You could see the emotion in Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler. Like when they do it out there, it just is a different type of win.
No doubt.
You got Brandon on the coyote hunt.
He's like, wait, can I see the coyote? He's holding my dog too. So
okay.
Oh, good. Like,
like,
that's great.
Like, please, is my dog in the house or is he breakfast? I'm not sure.
Now, Danielle, we'll get into the outing, but did the Uni pizza oven from PC Richard & Son, did that go in the overhead bin, or where is that? Where is that
That
located?
thing weighed like 903 pounds. But my friend Liz, I don't know if you guys, I had a gallery out there. I was like,
Yeah.
Brad, I get
Saw that.
my friends come to follow me, but they lived in Percy, so I sent it home with them. Wes actually was like, hey, I get 3 carry-ons. That can count as one. I'll take it. He offered to bring it back. He's like, but it's only making it to Hope Sound. You're going to have to pick it up and bring it. And I felt bad. That would have been so much work for him. So I said, you guys hold it for now. And Liz is like, we'll ship it, or I'll make you all the pizza you want when you come up here.
And that was, of course, for the long drive, right? That's the long drive winner, our Danielle Matthews. Damn right.
Yeah. How about that?
We do have to talk about, so wait, we started on 5. So it would have been, is it 3?
That's the par 3.
The Ireland trip.
Yeah, but no,
she chipped in for birdie
to get into the playoff. I chipped in.
Yeah,
Russ was going around like he just won the Open.
Russ was running around the green apparently like Steph Curry after he sunk that hole in one.
Oh my gosh,
Russ just had a day.
Yeah,
he sure did. He sure did. We'll get into all that in a second, but I just want to talk about the Barbasol real quick because we talked about the playoff. Vincent Norman, the 25-year-old Swedish rookie, takes the win in a playoff over Nathan Kinsey for his first win. And the interesting story, there's always stories, right? And it's and his girlfriend Frida Kinholt, I believe that's her name. She gets a T36 in the LPGA, then flies from Ohio just to make it in time to see that win. Pretty cool stuff.
That is
very cool.
I know. It's like, that's the only time they're tagging the wife.
And I had Lucas Glover, of course, in the one and done. He makes the cut, and he's in a position where he could have won the tournament. And watching him putt down the stretch, Moose, I don't know if you picked up on this, but he looked like standing over a 6-foot putt, like he knew he was going to miss it. I mean, the scar tissue in that guy's head is unbelievable. It's a shame because he's really, the rest of his game is really on point.
Yeah, and we talked about Pendrith, who gets a 6, and Grayson Murray, again, who's in the top 10 in a T7. He's been up there week in and week out the past couple weeks. So, for the alternate event, it really showed up and having a playoff, and it was great to watch. I was kind of glued to that playoff because there were some crazy shots, honestly, but you love to see it. You love to see the way they have to recover.
That Kimsey, that was his first PGA Tour event ever. I mean, you think about that, man. He's like, man, this is easy. I got in a playoff.
And it's funny too, because he's not like, they talked about him playing head to head against JT in a Walker Cup. So he's been out there, but
he's on the DP World Tour.
Yeah.
So I guess this, because it was a combo event kind of thing where they had a lot of DP World Tour players. So I guess that's the only crossover that he's had.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And Steve Stricker, how about him? How about the run, the heater he has been on?
Yeah, he's the tiger of the Champions Tour right now.
Right now, he really is. He won his 3rd major this year. Now, of course, they've got the Open Championship, the Senior Open Championship coming up, but he's won 3 of the 4. Bernhard Langer, of course, knocked down the other one. But what a year for Steve Stricker.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And let's talk about our outing.
Yeah,
Fox Sports The Gambler, Swing It and Ding It Open, benefiting the Magical Mila Foundation. The Legacy Club, I can't tell you guys the compliments that I've received, and they are all deserved. Everyone loved the place, and it's not even complete yet, right? Well, it's not gonna be complete for a while, but like the things that were close were really close, but we got to use the patio and all that, which was tremendous.
Yeah, it really shined, man. I tell you, when the golf course shined, they got all that rain. You never would have known it. I know we had to go cart path only, but my buddies and I were out there remarking, I'm like, this place drained out really well. I didn't, there wasn't water in bunkers or anything like that. It looked great. It played great. It played tough, and it was just an all around just fantastic day. The food was outstanding as well.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable.
Everything top to bottom was great.
Started out with the kibitz room dropping off that amazing lunch, which, and then, the dinner that they put out, like my only conversations were, let's just do like casual, like a barbecue, something like that. That was not that. No, that was an elevated experience.
Brisket. I mean, it was fantastic. I think I had like 3 plates.
Yeah, it was tremendous. And Randy and Alex were both out there, saying hi. Obviously, Frankie, who does an incredible job day in and day out there. Keith and Emily, who I worked with the whole time. Can't thank them enough. It was fun too, because the contest at the end, right? There's so much we could talk about, but also want to thank John Clark for coming out and wearing that outfit, which John Clark talked about on the Phillies broadcast last night.
I know.
We're trying to find some footage, but having the Crucker out there was awesome.
Yep.
Aaron Sipos was there, Mark Jackson. So a lot of fun, and everyone loves Wes Patterson. I mean, he does not disappoint. He gets out there and he sends it, and people really enjoyed hanging out with Wes on the course.
And the DJs.
DJ Reed Streets and Nico Oso. We had the Buckle Bunnies from Xfinity Live. The Tito's bar was incredible all day long.
I took a couple of those cups home.
Yeah,
they keep the drink nice and cold, man.
That was my move during the day. I did 2 of them, the double insulate.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was cool.
It was hot.
It was
hot.
podcast live that day. It was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Getting to talk to Jessica and talking about the foundation and all the work that they've done, and the money that we helped raise is awesome and gives us a great purpose to continue to do this. Andrew Factor joined us, and I believe he's looking for a regular slot on the program. We'll see about that. We're in negotiations.
Well, the cigar rolling, that was a big hit too.
It was. They were great.
They were really good. And how about Sean Brace on the mic for the contest at the end? And I understand that you were feeding him all the information.
Yeah.
It was like a relay system, Danielle. Yeah. Moose is up here like telling him who it is and telling what
Harry
to say.
Mays.
And then
He's like, Harry.
Yeah, that man has never met a microphone he does not like. And it was funny. He DJ'd our wedding, and we had multiple musicians. Right, we had my buddy Durham playing. We had Fitzy, who's a violinist. And right before it, I go to Sean. I go, "Hey, buddy, I love you, man. Thank you for doing this. Let's let the music do the talking tonight. All right." Very limited mic work, and he's staring back at me. I'm like, no, I'm not saying every now and then, but let's not be on the mic the whole night. Let's just let the music be the soundtrack.
Let it breathe.
Did he give it self-control, or did he just
until about 3 hours in, and then he was turned into the Philly fanatic as he usually does.
How sharp was Rabini?
Oh yeah,
I mean dude, he is.
If he doesn't make you want to buy a suit,
I know. Yeah. And now Russ Hartung is going to get a suit tailored for him.
He's like, I have 9 weddings upcoming this year. He's like, I am so excited.
That's awesome. Russ was our prevailing playoff long drive, the Dr. Glott long drive finale, and there were 3 guys. They all went OB with their first 2 balls, which was it's a tough hole. It's not a straight hole. You know, if you hit any kind of shape on 14, you're in trouble. That's where we had Wes Patterson hitting the long drives, but he prevailed, man. He got the win, and he was pretty pumped, and he gets the Dormy Workshop head cover that says 2023 long drive champ on it. He could stick that on his bag for the rest of the year. So much fun out there. And I can't thank everyone who came, sponsored, donated, supported. There's too many people to thank. And I know I'm missing people, but thank you all. That's all I can say.
Saw Shane Dolan out there from the 1912 club. He was actually in the long drive contest. He was one of the lefty, I think, teed off first and put it in the right rough, which is a very common spot on that hole. And then is
he a really good player, Harry?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's sub 5.
Because there were some questions about their score, and I'm like, no.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, they're always, whoever is the lead, everyone in the field always goes, "Oh, come on." I'm like, well, because they played better than you. That's why.
Right.
Yeah, because you stink, and I stink. I didn't. Greeny, I actually booked a chiropractor appointment for Greeny for carrying
for his back.
Yeah, he had carried our team. Myself and Brian Dow were spraying it all over the course. Gerald Colton actually hit some good shots, but Greeny, he was on fire. He kept it. The fact that we were 2 under was a miracle, and it was all because of his play. So yeah.
Well, with the format having to use 2 of each person's drive, we were like, we had an advantage hitting from the women's tees, obviously. So we used 2 of mine, like 2 of Russ's and 2 of Teddy's right away. But Gabby had a game similar to yours, Moose, and she just couldn't. It was left, right, or it was just like chunked. And so it came down to it. We're like, all right, we're going to have to just use something. Just find the fairway, Gabby, like figure it out. So it was fun. I love the format. I love the day. We just had a blast.
Teddy hit into us, Moose.
He did.
Really?
On the 9th hole, we're in the middle of the fairway, about, I don't know, 80. No, we were probably 100.
You can't really see down
out.
that hill, right?
Couldn't see anything.
Yeah, we were like 105 out. I remember because we're right in the middle of the fairway. And all of a sudden, I hear this ball hit behind, and I look over to my right, and here's this ball coming up, and I'm like, "Yo!" I'm up there waving. It was Teddy.
He hits it pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you hit him with a WTF or what? Or,
Well, he was like, "What the heck?" And then I'm like, "Oh my god, we're sorry." And then we get up there, and then we got hit into. So I think like that hole, maybe we just put a Ranger there next year.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I think it was like
or not. It
recurring
adds to
theme.
the excitement. You
It
know,
does.
little
Yeah,
excitement.
I was like,
never
"Oh,
hurts.
it's Harry up there." I was like, "Oh, Harry, we're sorry."
And it's funny because my idea for the Pizza Hut 2-man chip and putt, it came from playing in the Green Valley member guest where they do that, and people love it. And Mike, you see that just popped up? Sorry. Anyway,
Little message there. Yeah.
yeah,
That was
it says
just trying to
audio
throw
only.
me.
But the Pizza Hut 2-man chip and putt, which in the end, I mean, there were some really great shots. And there were some really good putts, and the team that was closest, you're like, it probably was about a 5.5 footer. But the Tallaritas, Dave Tallarita and little Michael Tallarita, Dave said that was the only clutch putt he's ever hit in his life, but he sinks it, and then the rest of the guys that were closer like lipped out. It was such great drama on the 18th.
And they got the trip, right?
Yeah, that's a Casa
each get a trip for 2 to Casa de Campo. And we had Ben York on with us talking about his experience, who won the early bird. And we're going to do that again. I might open up registration like soon for next year because there were about 50 to 75 people that were on the outside looking in, and we want to be able to, I mean, that to me, that's the good number. We were at 108. That's a lot of golfers. You wouldn't want to any more than that. I think they have to start renting carts. But you know, it was great to have all of our incredible sponsors involved and to be able to do some of the activations. D'Angelo's Pizza hit the spot. Have you ever aimed at an inflatable slice of pizza on a golf course, Harry or Daniel?
No, but my buddy that I was playing with, one of my college buddies, won that. He came
Scott
within
Duke.
just a couple of feet of it in the middle of the fairway. But that was cool. He got a dinner or lunch for 4 at Angelo's plus a foursome at the Legacy Club.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a great prize.
And if you know anything about Angelo's, you know, that's of value, being able to go upstairs and eat there and skip that crazy line. That is a major value. Dan Roomberg, how about he got 7 inches for the Harrah's shot in the dark, the one where Mike Powers had a bit of trouble on that tee box on that same hole. But
I didn't get up there.
That's a tough hole to come close to get that ball to stay on the green. So yeah, there were some really good shots, and you know, the contests were a lot of fun. Alejandro Alvarez, who's a member at the Legacy Club, he was the guy who had the chance for the 60-foot putt from Clear Path Financial. Actually took a really good run at it, but that is a tough, but he still won.
A long putt uphill.
He did. He had good pace, just a foot short.
So a lot to think about for next year, a lot of good to take away, some improvements that could be made, some things that could be added, but all around, I mean, rave reviews. And I think it all starts with the host location. I mean, those guys, John DeMarco and his team, like I've done these events and similar events, and you kind of do it on your own, right? You put out your state, like they had everything done. When the tournament was over, they handed me 2 sheets of paper. It had every contest we had with who won it. And all of the finishers from Golf Genius. Like that made it so easy. Like, you know, because I had all the prizes, you know, out. My wife actually played Vanna White and helped me. She was like, "You didn't even tell me I was doing this. This is very unorganized." She was not happy.
It seemed very organized.
But she's good. She jumped right in and figured it out like she always does, and handed out some great prizes to the folks. And the Dormy Workshop made a really cool Magical Mule head cover for Dan that we gave to him, which was really cool to be able to present him with that. So much fun. And stay tuned for some of the recap videos that'll be coming out. We had a lot of guys out there getting some footage, maybe some bloopers, maybe some,
At one point, the drone was like hovering 10 feet in front of me. I'm over the ball. I'm like, okay, this is fine. Hitting driver. And literally, like, as I'm taking it back, the one guy that was watching us was like, "Don't hit the drone." And I'm like, "Come on." And I'm like, pull it. I'm like, seriously? So that should be a nice little blooper for you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, but I'm trying to see if I missed anything. I don't think so. Yeah, the Shelton Bloomfield team were the winners. They were 9. They were 9 under, right? But I mean, most guys, it was 9, 7, 5. I think 5 was where the cutoff for the playoff was. So
right, long time listeners, those guys too.
Oh yeah,
I mean they've been with us for probably from the start.
100%. They support us. They listen. I mean, those guys were fantastic. Hey, can I get you something to drink? Like they were awesome. They always are, and a lot of fun to be around. I think that's
Shelton's
a
stick.
Yeah,
he's a stick. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Yeah, a lot of fun. There was a last place team, but I'm not going to shout them out on the podcast. There were actually 4 teams tied for last, but I picked the ones that I knew I could make fun of the most, basically. All right, fine. It was Mario Russo, Jake McCann, and Mark Flowers. There you go. Congrats, guys.
What was the number?
I don't even know. I think it was 5 over.
Over.
Oh, they were over?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was good.
They were missing their 4th. They were missing their
That's
4th,
right. That's
so
right. He canceled.
Oh, they played with 3.
Got sick or something, I think.
Yeah. But tremendous day. All the Green Valley guys that came out, right, with Factor and Siegel and Nate and Greeny and all those guys, always supporting. So tremendous stuff. But let's take a quick break and we will come back and give a preview of the Open Champion. All right, and welcome back. A lot of fun talking about the outing. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that for the next couple of weeks as we continue to get some footage and stuff in. And, some of the other activations we talked about, but, having that Chevy Silverado out there from Mall Chevy, a couple of guys actually got really close to that, to getting that, to winning that for the hole-in-one. Yeah, and the trip for Ireland from All Access. Someone came really close to that too. But, yeah, having that Mall Chevy out there was awesome, and we thank them for their support, Harry.
Yeah, that 13th hole, that's a tough hole. But for 8 years in a row now, Mall Chevrolet, they've been the South Jersey's #1 Chevy dealer. Now, it could be because, they treat their customers just right. That's why they were voted a top 100 dealer in the entire country for customer satisfaction. But I still think it's because of that great motto. We sell Chevys for less. It's that simple. Find your perfect drive at Mall Chevrolet. Visit Mall Chevrolet on Haddonfield Road in Cherry Hill, right across from the Cherry Hill Mall, or visit them online at mallchevy.com and find your perfect drive.
All right. So again, we have 2 events this week. We have the Barracuda, where Danielle is live on site with a pretty cool modified Stableford format, right?
Yeah.
So you get rewarded for birdies. That's the thing. And you get punished for bogeys. Pretty interesting format. I think that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Eagle, you get 4 points. So I know Brandon's going to be with that altitude. He's going to be swinging for Eagles Thursday and Friday, and hopefully throughout the weekend, because you get 4 points if you bag an Eagle. Birdie is 3, par is 2. And then if you make a bogey, -1, or a double bogey, -3.
Wait, you know what, Harry? The point structure on the PGA Tour website says birdie is 2 points, par is 0, bogey is -1. Huh?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not giving anything for a par. All right.
No, it's saying par is 0.
Okay.
Bogey is -1, double bogey or more is -3.
-3. Yeah. Okay. But
and a double
and
a double eagle's 8 points, Harry, in case you got one of those in the
double
bank.
eagle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. One of those laying around. But, some guys do jump out at me at this. I think if you play some aggressive players and some guys that are birdie hunters, I'm sticking with Grayson Murray. Not a bad number, 5,500, as we kind of see the line with DraftKings for this, and then we'll really see the line for the Open Championship. Sam Bennett is another guy that's jumping out at me. And Justin Suh, Harry.
You like Suh?
Yeah, Suh at 3,000. Yeah, I do. I like him in this. Keith Mitchell, that number, I'm not quite sure, but I'll keep an eye on that. But you got to go for the aggressive guys that hit birdies in this tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the favorite is Stephen Jaeger, the German, at plus 1,400 right now on DraftKings. He's probably going to be my one and done player. I'm looking at Bo Hostler at plus 280 in a top 10. I'm going to stay away from Kashmir Keith, although I like him. He's one of my favorite players, but I'm going to stay away from him. How about, Peter Quest missed the cut last week. He's been playing really well, plus 400 in a top 10. And I like this Hubbard guy. What's Mark Hubbard is actually the second favorite. Might want to throw something in there at plus 1,800 to win it.
Danielle, doesn't look like we're going to have many weather issues out there this weekend, right?
Oh, man.
Looks nice.
There's like 0. I literally had a blanket on me the whole time. And now it's like getting cold, but it's probably like 50s in the morning. And then it gets to like 85 during the day, but literally 0% chance of rain.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
What are the guys saying about this format? Are they excited to play in something like this? A little bit different from your average week in, week out event.
Honestly, I haven't even talked about it. Like, I know we all went out to dinner last night, but I still have no voice left from the outing. So I've been rather quiet.
Now, don't blame it all on the outing. There were some other activities the weekend leading into the outing. All right. We're not going to take all the blame here.
Quarter of the blame.
Yeah, there was some pre-gaming going on, Moose, I think, on Saturday and Sunday.
We had a good Philly weekend leading into it. But
Yeah.
no, honestly, they haven't talked about it, but I'm interested to see what they say tonight when we get a chance. I think we might go to Lake Tahoe and see what happens.
Nice. But on the other side of the world, the Open Championship, you have 156 golfers cut to 70 plus ties. All of the top 10 are in. Obviously, Cam Smith defending. All of the winners from 17 to 21, Spieth, Molinari, Lowry, Morikawa over at Royal Liverpool. It's an interesting one to kind of look at, right? You have Rory's 09 Open Championship win to think about. 14 of the 17 winners had a T9 or better the previous year. So this is the majors. It really always kind of is that way. It's very rare for a long shot to. It was rare for Wyndham Clark at that point. I think a lot of people overlooked him, but really excited to see this one. Scheffler, we talked about the last time he finished worse than T12 was in October. How about Cantlay, the only player to finish in the top 15 in each of his last 5 majors? He's never been more than 5 shots off the lead in the final round in those.
Wow.
So,
and he's playing with Brooks.
He's playing Brooksy, though, so he might be like
unbelievable. You might have to fade Brooks. You might have to he might be aggravated.
I don't know. I think I'd fade Cantlay.
I think Brooks is a little bit more intimidating.
Yes. I don't know. Cantlay seems like the guy that just doesn't care. He doesn't seem like the guy that doesn't get intimidated. Like just keeps doing what he's doing. But really looking forward to this one, Harry. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, you talked about Scheffler. We talked about it since October, since he's been out of the top 12. He has 7 straight top 5s, 18 straight top 12s. I mean, just think about that. It's just, and even if he's putting. Imagine if he putted well. Because that's always seems to, and he says it's overrated how, his putting is not so good. He said that's a media narrative, and I kind of agree with him somewhat. But imagine if he did have a big week putting, he'd blow the field away. I don't know that anybody could, even Rory could hang with him if Scotty Scheffler could putt. Tommy Fleetwood coming in with 3 straight top 6s is going to be obviously a local favorite. And I'm invested in him through my buddy who I played with at the outing, who actually cashed out for $9,000 on Robert McIntyre during the 4th round.
Wow.
Yes. He would have won $18,000 if McIntyre would have won the tournament on a $200 bet. They offered him a cash out at $9,000 and he took it. So that's pretty incredible. But Tyrrell Hatton, missed cut.
Smart gambling.
Yes, 1 missed cut for Tyrrell Hatton in the last year, and it includes 8 top 10s. Another guy you might want to look at for at least the top 10, playing really well right now. I'm going to go with a couple of matchups: Fleetwood over Lowry, Tigala over Louis Oosthuizen. If you go back and look at what Louis Oosthuizen has done since he went to LIV, it's absolutely nothing. I think he's got nothing. He took the money and knows he's just on his farm, working the farm, and he doesn't care
way
about
too many
golf.
people are picking him high this week. I
don't see it. I really don't. McIntyre over JT, and Brian Harmon has been playing really well. Plays links golf very well. I'm going to take him over Keegan Bradley, who really hasn't had a great history on the links. A couple of long shots. Minwoo Lee plus 7,000. He, of course, won the Scottish Open a few years ago, can play links golf. McIntyre's plus 8,000, Moose, coming off of last week. I find that to be remarkable. And Jason Day plus 11,000. Nobody's talking about him. He has a win this season, plays well on the links. Scheffler, everybody's taking Scheffler in a top 10 and they're laying money. They're laying 140 in a top 10. I'll go top 5 and give me plus money at plus 150. And Tyrrell Hatton plus 260 in the top 10.
I like it. As we continue to see the line here with DraftKings Sportsbook. From tee to green, the best place to go to get in on all the action happening on the links is DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, new customers will receive an odds boost to add plus 1,000 to any pre-tournament wager up to $10 on any golfer to win. DraftKings will be featuring parlays and odds boosts all tournament long, so be sure to check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day before the tournament starts to see what they have in store. A couple guys that I'm taking right. This is a top of the board kind of tournament for me. Victor Hovland at 2,200 and Lowry. Love his short game and putting to maybe get another claret jug at 4,000. And an interesting one for me, anyway, is Patrick Harrington in a top
Yeah.
20 at plus 400. He knows how to play these courses, and I think he will do a good job. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DING and boost your odds during this weekend's tournament. That's code DING only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE. NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. I also like Justin Rose in a first-round leader position. I like him to jump out of the gate. I'm definitely fading Oosthuizen for sure. And I do like the Fleetwood and Hattons. I think it could be one of those guys that takes this home. It depends on maybe if you want to wait a day and see, where they are and see where those numbers land to take them, because it's tough. I think this is for me, this is like a day two was where I dig in after see who really is acclimated to this course. The weather, Harry, doesn't seem to be like it's going to be a major factor. You think they're going to move it up because of wind again?
No, I don't think so. The wind's going to be pretty light considering where they're playing. They're going to get rain each day, it looks like. But the winds don't look to be too bad. It's all about pot bunker avoidance. And how about that internal out of bounds? We're going to hear a lot about that this week on that 18th hole. As that kind of dog legs to the right, super long hole. But this 17th hole that they redesigned, it used to be the 15th, a par 3 in the opposite direction, 136 yards facing the D estuary. And if they get any kind of wind, that is the amount of land that you had to land it on the green, to keep it on the green, is very small. And then bunkers are just super penal on that hole. It should be great drama coming down the stretch.
Oh, yeah. And keep an eye on Fax's social this week. I posted something yesterday, just got a new video in of him on 15 showing the pot bunkers as well. So we'll have some nice insight coming through there.
Very nice. Danielle, are you in for the DraftKings fantasy contest this week?
I am not yet, and hopefully I didn't get locked out. I will.
Nope, there's still like 10 spots left. So
I got to get in that too.
As soon as we finish here, I will get that, because our last one I got locked out. I didn't do it in time.
Yeah.
And a couple other of our fans on Twitter too. They were like, open it back up.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate all the support and help with the outing, for being there. Danielle, thank you for coming in for that. That was tremendous. A lot of fun. And thanks to our buddy Mike Powers for getting us actually on video. And make sure you get onto Fox Sports The Gamblers YouTube page, subscribe. I think we forget to do this a lot, but on all of our stuff, we would really appreciate if you're enjoying it, that you like, share, follow, subscribe, do all the little things that help us day to day. So we appreciate it. And we would love to continue to keep doing this, because we love talking about golf and we actually enjoy hanging out with each other. So hopefully we continue to have some success with it and have a great time.
Fantastic. Great work, Moose, and everybody at Fox Sports, The Gambler, and iHeart, and the Legacy Club. It was just a brilliant week.
Really cool to meet the whole team in person too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you all. We will be back next week to talk about what happened in the Open Championship. See you then.